Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Craig Smart. I'll be your MC for this evening. I'm delighted to welcome you all on behalf of Curtin University, hear more about the industry-led course, of course, the Master of Predictive Analytics, something new, something pretty exciting. This evening's event will give you an opportunity to hear from industry as well as from academics. It's a nice marriage of the two domains. So, to kick off, I'd like to welcome up to the stage the Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Science and Engineering, Professor Andris Stelbovics. If you could come forward, and love to hear from you.
Right, good evening everybody. In the past 15 years we've seen an enormous growth in the use of intelligent phones. If we go to a country like India, and I was in India 3 weeks ago, if you go into the poorest villages, the one thing you notice is no matter what the income or status of people is in India, that everybody's connected, they've got a phone. So what we actually see is that the new generation of people on this planet are using devices in a very sophisticated way to actually provide information which may really be of great benefit to you as a business owner. The service that they're actually providing is actually benefiting us all. So if you're in the audience tonight as a parent or a prospective student, I strongly recommend this degree to you.
Thanks, Andris. And I think it's fair to say that innovation's been a catchword for Curtin University for a long time. This is a good example of that happening, this marriage between science and engineering and the world of business. So without further ado, I'll ask Tony Travaglione to come forward and speak to us briefly about the business dimension of the Master of Predictive Analytics. Thanks, Tony.
Just a little bit about the business school. Our business school more recently has just been accredited internationally as a total business school by AACSB, which basically means we're in the top 5% of business schools in the world. Only about 5% of business schools have that accreditation. Organisations have really needed to maximise their assets, to get the most of their assets. It allows that big data to be used and analysed to effectively maximise the assets and productivity. And you've seen the success of those mining companies, for example, oil and gas companies, that have been able to do that and remain in the market in a very difficult time. The other stream that the business school is associated with, or primarily responsible for, is the financial and investment predictive analytics. And again, this is sort of an area that's probably more readily understood in the business world and amongst your sort of general layman, in the sense that vast quantities of information allow financial markets to really effectively minimise risk and to maximise returns. So that's all I've really got to say. I'll leave it to the experts later on to talk a little bit more about those particular streams, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony. Now, to move on, I want to introduce our next speaker. Mary Hackett is the Regional Director of GE Oil and Gas. Mary joined GE November 2014 from Woodside, so very reputable firms, where she was Senior Vice President for the Australian Oil Business Unit. And in her 17 years with Woodside, she's held a number of senior leadership roles, including Project Manager of the Pluto Expansion, Engineering Services Manager and Facilities Engineering Manager, and obviously well-known names, is well placed to discuss the impact of smart technologies and data analytics to industry. So if I can ask Mary Hackett to come forward, I'd love to hear from you.
To be honest, and I was just so excited when Andris talked about this course and the work Brian had told me about it. Unbelievable, and I seriously think Curtin is going to put WA on the map with something like this because it's incredibly important. I think the reason that we're lagging consumers is because it has to be a deep, personal, passionate need, and it has to be a well-understood need. And that's why a course like this is really important, to match industry with students, to really get that deep learning and find out where the true needs are, because it's not always immediately obvious. So I'll just give you an idea of where GE has worked across its whole spectrum of delivery. So GE works in healthcare, works in power utilities, so across the full gambit. So it gives them the power to really leverage the ecosystem.
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. What's the probability of having a little weather event, the sun bouncing off something, that causes a traffic accident on the freeway? And therefore, what's the probability of being able to work out how much time it takes to get emergency services out there? We need an ambulance, we need a policeman. And how many police do we need out there? And how many ambulance crew do we need out there? So these questions. So what is predictive analytics? Can we tell the future? No. But it can tell us a lot about what may, what might, what's probable and what's improbable to happen. And we can start allocating resources accordingly. So when we talked about the traffic accident and all the other things that went on from that, imagine that you actually were working for government in a strategic planning area and someone came to you and said, you need to tell me how much I need to spend over the next 10 years in this area. So what do? Predictive analytics is very good at looking backwards and looking forwards, but it's only based on the facts and data that you know. We need to try and integrate our thinking to look at things that may happen now and how they affect our future. And predictive analytics is more than the maths. It's about using your brain power to interpret what you see and build on that in ways that people just aren't thinking of at the moment. And that's the power of predictive analytics.
I remember going to a presentation. I was part of an event that Woodside were running, and there was a presentation given about the use of technology in managing assets better within Woodside, and there were a couple of examples given from the electricity industry where we said actually they are much further ahead than we are in the oil and gas industry in terms of how they go about using condition monitoring data and so forth to make better decisions about the management and maintenance and so forth of those assets. So what we started to say was, well, actually, no, perhaps focusing down in industry isn't the right way to go. So whilst the oil and gas industry undoubtedly right now is facing a lot of challenges because of the downturn in the market, the fall in the price of crude oil and the knock-on effect that's had in the gas markets, but actually when we think about the problems that we're trying to solve, they're very much across multiple industries. But undoubtedly, these are sorts of skills that are going to be extremely relevant to businesses here in WA. I have absolutely no doubt about that.
I'm in the petroleum engineering sector, and as Mary explained, it's clearly apparent that there needs to be a lot more automation, both within that energy sector, but also in the mining sector. We hear about talk of automated trucks driving around mine sites, but hey, there's a big process plant in there that is not automated at all, has total manual labour governing it, much as many of the oil and gas process trains have, offshore platforms. In Western Australia, offshore, there is only one platform. Believe me, in the order of 60 platforms, only one is fully automated. In the North Sea, there's only one platform automated, and yet there are 400 platforms. And we need, in the resources industry, the scientists, the engineers, and the data analysts, the people who make sense out of the data that is collected, to be used in a common sense situation to make companies leaner and produce basically a greater profit margin. That's what turns industry, keeps industry going. That's what keeps the economy going and jobs.
As you can see, that's to do the predictive analytics. Obviously, we deal with data. We get data, we clean the data, we manage the data, and then the security of the data and how to understand and basically how to understand and draw conclusions, make predictions based on them. That's what you need the computing people to do. And that's what we actually want to offer in the course as well, a big part of the course. Basically, the first year of the course, majority of the contents will be on how to deal with the data.
So I work for the School of Economics and Finance at the Curtin Business School. I was trained as an econometrician, so part of my role is to sort through thousands, if not millions, of data points and try to make some sense of it. And over the last 10, 20 years, what we see is this increasing availabilities of really, really good quality data. So what got me excited about this is the ability to be able to sort through all those complex relationships between the financial market and our economy, and then make some sense out of that, and potentially project into the future, allow us to make better decision and management out of from our personal wealth perspective, as well as if you're in one of those policy roles, that be able to do policy that would be more robust to perhaps the next global financial crisis.
So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see some of you on campus perhaps in the not too distant future. Thank you very much.